Hello, my crafty friends. Um, this is a video about my fabric journal, and this is what prompted the swap that we're going to do in my Facebook group in November. And it's going to be a one-to-one swap, which means you will swap with one other person. Um, our penny paper swap, you could choose as many partners as you wanted. And that was September swap. Our October swap, which was AT coins. You could swap with as many people as you wanted. But in November and December, the swaps we're going to do are going to be just one person to one person, because those are holidays. And no matter how much we think we can get done during those 2 months, we don't get near as much done as we think we can or as we want to. So, so we're just going to swap one person to one person. And what it's going to be in November is a fabric journal page or swatch swap. This is my fabric journal, and it's a journal that I made out of sheets, or a sheet. And the pages are a little bit bigger than 6x6, but 6x6 is the size we're going to swap. And you don't have to have a fabric journal to do this swap. You can just put your page that you receive from your partner into any journal. And that's one of the cool things about this. But if you want to do a fabric journal, this is a real easy one to do. All I did was take an old sheet, and let me see if I can find the center of this signature so you can see how easy it really is. I took an old sheet and I dyed some of it, kind of this, it's kind of with some fabric dye, just very lightly, and some of it I dyed with coffee, and some of it didn't take any dye at all, hardly. It just kind of got, but it was a really old cotton sheet. And then I cut it up into strips that were this big, and these strips are about 12.5 by 6.5 or 7. 7 is the biggest they are. And they're not exactly the same, because I was just tearing them out of a sheet, so. And then I just sewed it together with some ribbon, a regular pamphlet stitch, no big deal. And then I took 3 of these signatures and I sewed them into actually I glued them to each other. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Here's the last page of this signature and the first page of this signature, and I just glued them together. Sorry about that. I just glued the last page of the first signature to the first page of the second signature. And then I did the same thing again. And that happens to be right here. But so that I had 3 signatures all glued together. Let me try to get those pages straightened out. And then I took this piece of green fabric and I just glued it onto the front and onto the back of the 3 signatures, and then onto the very back. And then I glued this doily down that was given to me in Happy Mail from Tanya McGuire. I glued that down on top of it, and I made a flower, fabric flower, and cut me out a dragonfly, and that's how I decorated it. That's how I put it together. It was real easy. And then I've done some pages in it, and I'll show you those so you can get an idea of the kinds of things you can do. This is just pretty things that I put on a page together. And this one was a collage that I did out of fabrics. And this is another kind of collage. I glued down on top of this viney fabric, I glued down some flowers. And then my daughter made me these butterflies out of some ribbon, so they will kind of puff up. Not a lot, but a little bit. And I glued those down on here, and then I glued some string to make their antenna. And so that's one kind of page that I've done. I also did this crazy quilt page. Any of these kinds of things, or anything else you can think of. Quilt. You could make a mini quilt. You could you could make some fabric flowers and sew them onto your page with buttons. You could do whatever you want to do. This one was sewed on, sewed together with a button. But that's some ideas of pages that you can make or something similar, just to kind of stimulate your thoughts on how to make one of these little pages. Now we're going to make them 6 by 6. This is a 6 by 6 piece of paper. And you want a sturdy fabric for your backing because you want it to be easy for the person to put into their journal or frame or whatever they want to do with it. These would be pretty in kind of a shadow box frame. You wouldn't even have to put them in a journal at all. I think that's a pretty cool idea. But I'm going to give you some ideas for substrate to start with. But this is the size, 6 by 6. I've got these placemats. They're kind of a canvasy placemat. Now I bought them because I wanted to use some of the snowmen. But this side would be, you could, of course you could do this side and cover it up. It doesn't matter. But something that's pretty sturdy like that. And here's another one, it's just a placemat, but it's a pretty sturdy thing. You could use any placemat. You could use a quilted placemat. That would be a fun thing to use as your substrate. You could use some denim fabric. This denim is not really, it's not real heavy duty, but it'd make a decent substrate. You can hem it if you want to and make it really be nice. I kind of like the frayed edges, so I think it would be fine to leave frayed edges on these. I've got a lot of string hanging off here bugging me. Anyway, you could use this. This is some denim it's got kind of a little bit of a pattern in it. I just pulled out some things that I had laying around the house. This is some really dark denim that my daughter made her cape out of. And so that would make a nice substrate. It's nice and sturdy. And this is just some canvas I got at the thrift store, but it's just cotton canvas. But you could use that. It's sturdy. You could use that as your substrate. When we were talking about this to begin with, Becky McCauley from Aunt Beck's Creations was making one for her little fabric journal. And she talked about using, for the swap, we could use felt as the back. And this is some wool felt that I got at a thrift store. And it would make a nice back because it's sturdy and you can sew through it, but you can also glue onto it. And I think that's part of this is some more. This is wool felt. You could use acrylic felt if you can't find wool felt. Wool felt is harder to find. But this, the thing about wool felt, if you sewed I don't know that it'll make any difference. If you just have acrylic felt and that's what's around your house, use it. The point is for it to be something sturdy you can sew through that's not going to tear or be delicate. Like a piece of lace, you wouldn't want that to be your backing. But you want something that's maybe solid. It wouldn't have to be, but it, that you could put stuff on the top of and it wouldn't detract from what you're building. If you don't have anything else, you can get a leg off of your husband's jeans. Here's, that would make a great base. It's nice and sturdy. These are just some Wrangler jeans that my husband got too skinny for. So, instead of taking them to the secondhand shop, I decided to use them, in my art. I've thought about making a journal just out of jean legs, just cutting them and making a journal out of those and having that denim just be the pages for your journal. You could do that. You could have, if you're wanting to make you a journal and you don't know what to make it out of, and you don't have a sheet, but you've got some jeans around, make you a fabric journal out of some jeans. You don't have to have fancy fabrics to make your pages with even. I used stuff that I thought was really pretty. This is nothing all that fancy, but it was fun to do. I colored in some of the turquoise around here to make it fit with this fabric. And I cut grass out of this fabric. It was an easy page to do, but it looks really cool. And it's, this is some fancier fabrics. And then This one has fancier fabrics, but they don't have to be fancy fabrics to be pretty. I'm going to make a page and on a 6x6 piece to show you that it doesn't have to be something fancy to be fun and to be something that your friends will be proud to have in their journal or whatever. And because since we're just trading one-on-one and doing it one person, we're limiting it to one person this time. This might be something we could do ongoing, like every 2 or 3 months, do another one so that you can build up a journal with the people in the Facebook group, but not have to do a bunch of them at one time. You could also, these would be fun things just to make and send in Happy Mail to people, and they could do whatever they want to with it. It's a piece of artwork that you could send out just for fun. It wouldn't even have to be a swap if you just want to send it out to whoever you please. Anyway, it's going to be a fun little project. I think we're going to enjoy it. Let me move my book out of the way. But I wanted to show you, some of this stuff to give you ideas for what you're gonna, what you might want to work with. And I haven't even decided which substrate I want to use. I'm really leaning towards this dark denim right here. So let's just cut that one out, and if I don't like it, I can always do something different. I need to find me a, let's get this. Let's see if that'll, okay. Let me do it this way. I almost made a big boo-boo. Okay, now let me get rid of some of this. It's just in the way. Okay. I'm just taking a easy, quick, cheap way to make a square. And you don't have to do it this way. You can do it any way you want. I'm going to stand up over it so I can see. This will be just slightly larger than 6x6 because of my because I wasn't cutting really close to the paper. So this side's going to have to be trimmed a little bit more. Okay, that's pretty close. So I've got my 6x6 square of fabric. Now, I don't mind if it ravels a little on the edges. I kind of like that. Not everybody will be into that, and if you're not, you can make yours as pristine on the edges as you want to. Let me move these out of the way. Now, once you've got your background square, see, there you go, 6x6. Now you have to kind of come up with what do you want to put on it. And I haven't really thought about that too much, to be honest. I was thinking something, maybe some kind of flower. And I may edge it with this. I think that would be fun. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the edging down just because it'll make it easier for me to, let me get that out of the way so I can do this. It'll make it easier for me to make sure that I'm not, that I plan my, whatever's inside that edge, which I'm thinking is just going to be a big flower. That's kind of what my plan is at the moment. Plans change. They do. They can change. But right now, this is what I'm planning. Now, this is not This may or may not be the final one I send to my partner because, like I said, I may change my mind. I may not think it's good enough, or I may come up with something else that I think's really cool when I figure out who my partner is. Then, this may not seem as appropriate. I don't know. It would be cool if you could private message your partner when you get the when you find out who they are, and see if you can find some things out about them that will help you make a page that you think would be tailored to them. Or you could just do what make a page that you like, and then they will learn more about you. So you can do it either way. And that one's crooked, so I'm going to start right here. I don't want to start with something that's bent. And this trim is something, once again, I just found at the thrift store in a bag full of stuff. So it's not, okay, now right here is the only place where there's really, where you have to be kind of careful with this kind of trim. You really need to make sure you glue it good right at the edge. And make sure that glue kind of seals it there, because that went kind of off. See how that kind of went off the edge there? I wish it wasn't like that. I wish it was perfect, but it's not. And if you don't know yet, you'll figure out pretty soon that I don't worry too much about perfect. It's more about enjoying it and making it pretty. But I do want it to be as nice as I can. I'm giving it away, so. Okay. Now, one thing I thought of was making graduating sizes of circular petally type things and stacking them on top of each other, and then sewing them down with a button so that will sew down through this, and that will kind of make them puff a little bit. That's what's in my head. So let's put the glue up, because I won't be needing it anymore, I don't think, if I continue with this plan. Okay. I have some fabrics here that I was thinking about using. I had this, and I think I may make this my bottom layer. I don't know if the whole thing is going to be fallish, but let's go ahead and cut it about the right size so that I won't make it too big. Okay, so this is about the maximum size we want. And I'm just going to do it kind of like we used to do snowflakes, fold it over. And this is a real heavy fabric. So this one I may go ahead and glue down, because that will also stiffen this up and make it stronger, because denim's not as strong as some other things might be. And then I'm going to kind of cut some petal-ish. Which is not terribly easy to do, considering. Okay. So there's some petal-ish. That one's too squared off, so let's see if we can fix that. And let's go ahead and make it a little more petally. Okay. So there's our base petal. Woo, that really sheds. Let me try to clean off some of this. Some fabrics shed a lot more than others, and this kind of, I don't know what it is. It's upholstery fabric of some kind. It really does. So let me get as much of this stuff to come off as I can without completely taking it apart. Okay. Get that out of the way. Okay, now I've got this, and here's my bottom petal. So I'm just going to put it just like that, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. Let me go see if I can zoom in a little bit more. This is going to be the base of our flower, and it's not, you know, the petals are not perfectly aligned or anything because this one's made by a human, not by God, so it's not perfect, but I think it'll make a nice base for our flower. And it's pretty solid, so if we don't see much of it, it won't be that big of a deal. I want to do some layers that are lace and some layers that are solid fabrics. Okay. Let's put this. And now that I'm thinking about it, I may glue a little bit of each one down just to hold them in place for the next one. And then we'll sew our button through it to kind of give it some work. But I don't want to sew all of them down like this one all the way around because I want them to be able to move like petals. So I'm just going to glue in the middle and not the outside petals for each one. Okay, enough of that. I think we'll do one out of this next. And let's I think the rest of them should be easier than that one was because it was really oops, got a piece here that I pulled on and that's going to gather stuff. So let's just cut it off. Okay. All right, let's see how this looks. Like I said, I haven't done many flowery type things. I think it's a little bit too big. I'm going to fold it different from how I folded it that time. No, I'm not. I was thinking that that would give it some more dimension, but I think that'll just make it weirder. Less good. We don't want it to be less good. We want it to be better. Okay. And then I'm going to come on in here. Okay. Now then we can stick that one in there. Let's see, how can I fix that a little bit? All right, let's go. There we go. Okay. I'm going to just put some of this in the middle here. Alrighty. Let's lay this. So those petals are kind of alternating. There we go. I'm liking that so far. Yay! Okay, now what next? I said I wanted some lace. I wonder if I make one of those, you know, gather it up kind of lace flowers. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Let me get some needle and thread real quick. Okay. Cubby, go lay down. I'm not going anywhere. My little jar of needles. All right, I think this will be good enough. It's not going to have to go through a lot of fabric, so I'm not going to. Okay, I'm just going to go through this part that has a little bit of netting or something here. So it's got a little bit more stability than the rest of it. And that's where I'm going to gather it up. Okay. Let's see if that's not quite enough. Well, maybe it is. No, not quite enough. Now, I left a lot of extra down here so it won't come through and mess up. Have to do it over, so. I'm just going to go ahead and use the whole piece. There wouldn't be much left over anyway, so I'll just kind of alrighty. Let's go ahead and tie a knot down here. I'm going to tie it. It's going to have to be a kind of big knot or else it'll pull through when I try to tighten it up. So. But it's got this knot is like the rest of the place where I gathered. It's going to be under whatever's next, so it's not going to show. Okay. Let's get that part out of there. And then we'll gather a little bit more here. And that may be too gathered. We'll do it to see if it's going to fit the area we're working on here. Okay, I think we can actually gather it a little bit more. Alrighty, let's going to be that layer. So let's get this tied off. All right. Now, you seamstresses out there may be flinching at my haphazardly doing this, but here we go. It's not a garment, it's a flower. Okay, now then I'm gonna just go ahead and put the glue actually right here on this circle where we gathered it all up. Okay, I may need to bring it up just a tad. Okay, I really like that. That's going to be pretty. Now you can see this isn't really a big deal that's taken me a whole lot of time, but it's turning out really cute. So this doesn't have to be a project that you agonize over. It's supposed to be fun for you and enjoyable for the person you send it to. Now, I'm not sure that this one will be, doesn't really go with the rest of that. Let's see what else we've got up here. Would this be better? Yeah, I think this one will be better. So let's do this. Okay. I'm going to fold it kind of like I did that other one. I wonder if I can fold it one more time. A little harder to do fabric like this than it is to do paper. But let's just see if we can. Okay. That's too big. Alrighty, no big deal. Except I've not got it folded right back exactly like I had it. Okay, we're going to just recut it. Come in. You need me? Can you have some? Yes. Okay, there's that one. And I think it's still just a tad too big. So let's fold it back up. And maybe that was... Okay. All right, now then, I like that. And I'm just going to glue this one right on top of that same ring there. Well, there we go. But I'm going to push down into the center of it. because I really want to keep the puffiness. You can kind of see, if I turn it this way, you can see the dimension of it. And it'll still lay flat, you know, when you shut your book, but it's got some dimension to it, which I think is really cool. Okay, I think I'm going to do one more little lace something in here. I've got some, where did I put those? Oh, here they are. I've got some lace that I colored. And I'm thinking about putting that right in the middle, but this may be too big a lace. It may not. I think it's smaller. Yeah, it's smaller than that one. So, all right, we're just going to go ahead and sew it up and see if it'll work. I may, this one is smaller, but it's not gathered, so it, and it also turned out kind of muddy looking. So let's try this one and see what we got here. Okay. Oops. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not a big deal. Okay, I am going to fold this under and bring it around. Again. So I'm kind of tying a knot in it right there. And I'm going to go around again. And that'll kind of keep this turned under here, as well as be a keep our stuff in place. So, and then I'm going to do the same thing I did with that other one, just in and out of this little mesh that's where you're supposed to sew it. Oops. Cayman. Okay, not a biggie. I'm not using a sharp needle. If you're making a flower like this from strips of fabric instead of this lace with the mesh, you probably want a sharper needle. Oops. Sorry. Be right back. Okay. While I was talking on the phone, I went ahead and finished this lace flower piece, but it's really too big. It kind of completely covers this up, overpowers the rest of it, so I'm not going to use that. I've got this little ribbon and it's doubled, and I'm going to try to just use it doubled and see if that'll give us a an even better petally look. I know the color's not anything that's in there already, but I think it'll look okay with these fall colors. There's, you know, some golds and stuff in that one, so we're just going to go ahead and use it. I really got too big of a needle, I think, for this, but we're going to go ahead and use it because it's what was easy to find. Okay, we're going to make this one not a really, really tight circle, and then maybe it'll, it'll have a little bit, it may be, I guess what I'm saying is it may really be almost too small for what needs to go next, but I'm going to put a button on top of this, so as long as it still shows good with the button, I'm not going to fret about it. And we may end up adding another piece of fabric between this and this if I decide this is too small. Because if I put another smaller bunch of petals, then it'll, yeah, I probably will need to add another one in between this and that. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and finish sewing this up and getting it ready. Then that'll help us figure out where we're going to go from there. Okay. A little bit more, and then we will sew it together. Okay. Not a professional flower sewer, so if you know a better way to do this, do it your way. Alrighty, let's see if we can tie this one off. Okay. Now then, let's kind of get this evenly dispersed. I think that'll be pretty in the center, but I do think I want to put something just a little bit between these two right here. And I thought about that piece, but there's really not any other red, but that'll look, well, let's just cut one and see. Sometimes things you don't think are going to look good really do once you cut them. You put them together and they look better than you expect them to. So. Yeah, I think I like that. All right. Let's glue this one down. Just right there. And then we'll glue this down. Right here. And now I'm going to look for a button that will go in there but be big enough to keep this circle in place. I'm going to pause it a minute because I didn't think to get out and look for a button in advance. I didn't know what kind of button I was going to be looking for. So, alrighty. I'll let that, I'm just going to let, need something the right size. Kind of hold that in place. Well, we're just going to let it sit there a minute. And I'll be right back when I find a button. Okay, I found a little button. I think that'll look really good in there. I'm going to start by just poking a hole up through there and then sticking the button on. And then I'm going to go back down. All right, now let's see if we can do it again. Oh, wow. I'm kind of amazed at that. All righty. Okay. And now I'm going to tie this. And I'm going to stick just a tiny bit of glue on there. Okay. There's our finished piece. That was pretty easy, and it's a pretty page. And like I said, you could frame it in a shadow box, or you could put it in a regular art journal, or you could put it in a fabric journal. You could put it on the cover of a journal. You don't have to be making yourself a fabric journal to do this swap. That's the point I'm getting at. There are lots of ways to use them. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that it makes you want to sign up to do our journal swap if you're part of our Facebook group. And if you're not part of the Facebook group, I just hope you got some good ideas for something else to play with and enjoy out of this. God bless you, and you have a great day.